taste sensation like no other. Since 1952, Randy's Donuts is consistently named one of the top donut shops in the country. And there's little wonder why. And oh my God, the variety. Glazed, raised, sprinkled, long johns, cinnamon rolls, crullers, fritters, bear claws. I'm getting hungry. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. Randy's Donuts, always alive, but always worth the wait. Visit randysdonuts.com or just stop by at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. You've seen Randy's Donuts in the movies. Now taste them for real. One taste and you'll be back again and again. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It is Pushing the Limits on a hump day on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, we're going to have some fun today. Some very fun topics, serious topics, you name it. LIV Golf. This is more than just a sports story, ladies and gentlemen. This is like political. I mean, it involves everything. LIV Golf merging with the PGA Tour. Why is this important? We're going to talk about it. Coming up at the bottom of the hour. His name is Charles Wolf, and Charles sadly lost his wife, Catherine, at the age of 40 on 9/11. She was in one of the Twin Towers. So I know he's got some strong opinions on LIV Golf and the PGA Tour merging. He'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Really interested to get his take on all this. Hour number 2. It's the NBA Finals, baby. Game 3 tonight with the series tied at 1 apiece. Going to break that down, and then Jesse Merrick from Channel 3 Sports, the Cougar Hunter himself, will be joining us in hour number 2. Talk a little VGK hockey tomorrow, Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But, you know, it's an exciting day on Pushing the Limits today, and the reason why is everyone keeps telling me, when's your new co-host going to be here? When's he going to be here? Well, the day has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. My permanent co-host is here. He's been on this show before, but now he's here for good. Mr. Guy David, the man from Australia, is finally here. Guy, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I'm well. How you doing? And thank you for playing the Land Down Under song in the background.
I like it.
I appreciate that. You've made me more nervous than I was. I haven't slept for about 3 nights. I've been sweating. It's just, it all comes down to this moment.
That's right. It all comes down to this. Well, you've been on a trip, a vacation, right? So you've been you've been out of town, so people were wondering where you were.
Yeah, I spent a few days in Mexico. Not a few days. I spent a week in Mexico. And I obviously forgot to put sunscreen on because I'm like a reptile right now. Like, I shed more than a snake.
I'm very jealous, by the way. All right, turn that stupid music off. It's driving me nuts.
Hey, don't be disrespectful.
It's the worst.
Do not disrespect Australia.
But I continue to listen to the show. Everything is international now, and the world's smaller, so I can listen to it from anywhere in the world, and you continue to do a great job and enlighten me every afternoon, so I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. You know, in your chair, it was John Taffer who called me an idiot. You missed it. He was in studio last week.
I did hear about it.
Yeah,
Good news travels fast.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we got certainly a good show lined up for you today. Friday, we're going to be at Sapphire. I know you're going to be there with me. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have some very special celebrity guests that are going to be there. But, you know, let's get right into it.
Yep.
Before we get to the LIV Golf story, Guy, I will bring this up. I don't know if anybody really takes his candidacy seriously. But Chris Christie has announced that he is running for president, and I believe it's more of an anti-Donald Trump person up there that just wants to make sure that Trump doesn't get in, more than him seriously thinking that he has any chance to win. What do you make of this?
He knows he can't win. He's not running to be president. He's not running to be the Republican nominee.
Yeah.
He's running to stop Trump. And through his words yesterday, I think he sort of made that clear.
Yeah.
He's like, I do not want Donald Trump president. And he did a good job in causing reaction. He got Donald Trump on Truth Social immediately after, ripping into him like he does. And he said, I thought, a few profound things. Like he said, his quote about how a man who doesn't say sorry or never admits that he is wrong pretty much can't be president.
I agree.
So that's what he's doing. And it is very, very... All these people that once supported Trump and went into bat for him, he was one of the first people that endorsed him in 2016, and now turning on him because they truly believe that Trump will turn on you quicker.
Well, the thing about Christie is that he brown-nosed Donald Trump for years when Trump was in office, and now all of a sudden there are some Republicans out there that are, I guess, seeing the light, but I think it's all crap. I mean, they knew who this guy was years ago. But they did and said what was beneficial to their political careers. Chris Christie knows that his political career is pretty much over. He can get a job on a TV network or be a commentator somewhere, but he's not going to be in office ever again. And so he knows his political career is over. And I do believe he dislikes Donald Trump. And I do believe that what he's saying about Donald Trump today, he's being genuine with what he's saying, and he's being truthful. But where was this years ago? It's like these Republicans that come out today. Where the hell were you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago? So I think it's an issue of credibility, and that's why I respect people like Liz Cheney. That's why I respect people like Mitt Romney or Adam Kinzinger, because they did things that were not politically convenient for them, and they knew it wasn't, but they still said what was right and did what was right, and that's why I respect those kind of Republicans.
Especially because it could be political peril for them. I mean, Trump wins against these people all the time, and he seems to be getting more and more popular. So like you said before, Chris Christie could have gone on some TV network and signed a multi-million-dollar deal. Is he doing this just to despise Trump? Yes, he is, to not get him the nomination. But is this working? Yeah. Or is it just making Trump more popular? He's indicted. He might get indicted for the classified documents in the next coming days. All I see is his poll numbers going up. Is there a point to Chris Christie doing this? For his own personal...
Probably.
I mean, he's been very selfless. Yeah. Can he hate Donald Trump that much? He's actually giving up a multi-million-dollar TV deal? Because he could get one. He's a personal person.
Yeah, I mean, when people mention Chris Christie to me, and maybe this is wrong because maybe I'm a bad person, but when people bring up Chris Christie, I think of the images of him like a beached whale on the beach when he closed all the beaches in Jersey, and then he's sitting there with his family and just disgusting. Yep. And then I think to myself, dude, eat a salad, you're a slob. I mean, maybe it's just wrong, but when I think of Chris Christie, that's what I think of, and it's like, dude, just go away. I do enjoy the fact that he's going after Trump, and I think hopefully if they get on a stage together, that could be very entertaining because he does stand up to Trump, and I do like that. But he has no chance to win. He's only in there for his own personal reasons, I guess. And
what personal reasons?
I think to keep his name out there. I think ego. I think a lot of people that have 1% of the vote or less than 1%, the only reason why they're up there is for ego purposes. And I think that's probably Chris Christie knows that, like I said, his political career is over. And there are others that are the same light, and they just stick around, and they stick around because they want to keep their name in the spotlight, so to speak.
Is there anyone in the Republican Party, any nominee, that can stop Donald Trump right now?
The only thing that can stop Donald Trump right now, in my personal opinion, are the indictments that are around the corner. By the way, Mark Meadows just gave testimony under oath, we found out. We don't know if he did that voluntarily or there's some plea deal put in place, but anything that Mark Meadows says under oath is bad news for Donald Trump. There are more indictments that are coming. We're talking about the insurrection and, lying about the 2020 election. Donald Trump is losing his mind on Truth Social. He knows that more indictments are coming around the corner. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. The only thing that can stop Donald Trump from becoming the Republican nominee is himself, like what you said. And it's not going to be Ron DeSantis. He's self-destructing. His poll numbers are so bad right now, and they continue to drop.
And I don't like that guy, but I almost want to be his advisor and say, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. I can go through a list of 50 things you've absolutely done horribly wrong here. Yeah. When you were up there at the top for a while, you have self-destructed. So say he does get indicted, Trump, he can't run. Hypothetically, something happens. He gets a felony.
Yep.
What will that do for America? Where will America be
I think for the diehard MAGAs, and sadly there are still plenty of idiots out there that are diehard MAGAs, and yes, you're an idiot if you're a diehard MAGA.
You can't help it.
I can't, but it's going to get worse. You know, the white supremacists out there and the people out there that are prone to violence, like what we saw on January 6th, if Donald Trump cannot run, there are going to be a lot of protests, and people are going to get hurt. I'm not saying that Donald Trump should not be held to the fire, but it's not a good look for the country, and that's not anybody's fault but Donald Trump.
It's
the things
true
that he has done. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. I actually think Ron DeSantis has a better chance of beating Joe Biden nationally than Donald Trump would. But with that being said, I still think Joe Biden shouldn't be running for president. I've been very clear on that as well. So it's a sad state of affairs that this country is in right now. We need better candidates running. Joe Biden is just too old. The fact that if he won in 2024, he could be 86 years old as president of the United States is daunting. But
Why is there no age restriction?
There should be.
For Supreme Court justices.
There is for how young you are, but not how old you are.
Right? For how old you are.
You can't be a 25-year-old, then you shouldn't be an 85-year-old either.
A president or a Supreme Court justice should not be a life appointment.
I agree.
Because every human ages differently.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. I think we're finding this out right now.
I agree.
And when people get power, they have trouble giving it up, no matter how old they are.
Sure. I agree 100%, Guy. And, I've been saying that for years, that, you can't be 25, you shouldn't be 75
Exactly.
either. Other big story that came out today is the CEO of CNN is stepping down. Don't know if he's given out any reasoning as to why he's stepping down, but I guess not really surprising. There's been a lot of shakeups at CNN. Starting maybe with Chris Cuomo and then Don Lemon, and their programming right now is really, really bad. I like Jake Tapper, and Wolf Blitzer needs to retire, speaking of old. Their morning show is just unwatchable, with or without Don Lemon. It's really not good. And their shows at night are not very good either. I don't like a lot of their hosts at CNN. Like I said, Jake Tapper is really the only guy that I watch on a regular basis. I think Jim Acosta is pretty good on the weekends. I think they should give Jim Acosta his own show, and he should have taken over for Don Lemon. That's my personal opinion. But Fox News is unwatchable. I don't watch a lot of CNN. Morning Joe's okay. Other than that, I don't like Rachel Maddow, and I don't watch MSNBC. Not a lot of news hosts that I like these days. But what do you make of this, the CEO stepping down?
CNN had to do it. He's been nothing but a train wreck to CNN. In 1 year, he's rescheduled the whole programming. It's got worse. He doesn't seem to know what he's doing. He's tried going more right when CNN's left. He's tried to become more in the middle. He's making mistake after mistake, but his biggest thing was the Trump town hall. What he thought was it's going to be huge, huge ratings. What he didn't think is how pissed off people were going to be after the town hall that the ratings have absolutely collapsed.
Yeah.
He had to resign. I'm sorry.
I tend to agree with you. And we'll see where CNN goes from here. But I think you need some strong, opinionated people on CNN that are also entertaining, and they really don't have that
Jake
right now.
Tapper's the only watchable person. I really relate to him. I think he's a smart person.
Tapper's really good. I like Jim Acosta. Anderson Cooper's okay. I watch a little bit of Anderson, but he's kind of dry and boring. And I will say this. I hate Fox News. I hate their propaganda machine. But they do have some very opinionated hosts that are at times entertaining, and CNN needs to grab something from that playbook. And doesn't mean you have to lie on the air, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. I want to get to the LIV golf story because this is a big story that everybody is talking about. You don't have to be a golf fan or a sports fan to understand that this is a huge story. Long story short, LIV Golf started over a year ago, where they signed all these PGA Tour players, paying some of them boatloads of money, like Dustin Johnson, $100 million. And the PGA Tour said, well, if you go over there, you can't come over here anymore. And it wasn't even that long ago that the commissioner of the PGA Tour, Jay Monahan, had this to say in talking about LIV Golf and the Saudis and blood money and, everything else that the Saudi government has done. This was not that long ago, Guy. This was like literally less than a year ago.
Less than a year ago.
Yeah, where Jay Monahan had this to say.
Well, I talked to players. I've talked at a player meeting, and I've talked to a number of players individually for a long period of time. And I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that there are significant implications. And as it relates to the families of 9/11, I have two families that are close to me that lost loved ones. And so my heart goes out to them. And I would ask, any player that has left or any player that would ever consider leaving, have you ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour?
Jay Monahan just decided to merge with LIV Golf. That is the definition of somebody that goes back on their word and is a hypocrite. That was less than a year ago that he made that claim. And there are a lot of, think about a guy like a Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods. They could have made close to $1 billion. Tiger Woods was offered $800 million to join LIV, and they took the high road. And now, all the players that accepted all that money from LIV Golf are laughing. They're laughing. And they're saying to themselves, told you so. Now they get to keep all that money, and then they get to play in any PGA Tour event they want to. I will say this, though, and I'm not defending LIV because I think LIV Golf is a joke. There's no cuts. These guys are making boatloads of money. There's no pressure. LIV Golf is a joke. But with that being said, the LPGA Tour would not exist without Saudi money, sponsorships. The PGA Tour has accepted sponsorships from Saudi-backed companies. Our own government works with the Saudi government. There's a lot of money, Saudi money, in the United States of America. So this wouldn't be the first company that is merged, so to speak, with the Saudis. That's not my issue. And my issue is not with PGA Tour players that have gone over and played on the LIV Tour. I've never criticized them for that. What I've criticized and what I will criticize is Jay Monahan being a hypocrite. Speaking a tough game on the Saudis and LIV Golf, and now all of a sudden the money is the only thing that matters, and now merging with LIV Golf. It is a joke. I know that there are a lot of PGA Tour players that have come out and spoken about this in the last 24 hours. So if you want to give me a few guys, I know a lot of people are very unhappy.
Yeah, Colin Morikawa, two-time major winner. He said, quote, on Twitter, I love finding out morning news on Twitter. He had no idea. Scott Stallings, you and me both. And it continues on and on. They were absolutely blindsided. They had no idea this was happening.
Yeah, and if you wanted to know what Donald Trump thought about all this, what a shocker, because he's hosted some of these LIV Tour events. He said, great news from LIV Golf, a big, beautiful, and glamorous deal for the wonderful world of golf. Congrats to all. I mean, again, this is a guy that is so complicit. He doesn't even understand that the Saudis were financially backing al-Qaeda terrorists and were a part of 9/11. And by the way, coming up at the bottom of the hour, here in about 10 minutes, Charles Wolf is going to join us. He lost his wife, Catherine, 40 years old on 9/11. I want to get his take on all this. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about this, right? I really do, Guy. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I knew this was going to happen. Yeah. I knew that if golf was for the better of the game of golf, you had to do this, right?
You did know this was going to happen?
Yes. I said this months back that eventually the PGA Tour and LIV, and I've said this on the air, eventually they were going to have to collaborate in some way because it's hurting golf. But with that being said, I'm not happy about it, but I think where the criticism needs to come from is the commissioner of the PGA Tour, who is a complete clown. Now, somebody who disagrees with me is John Daly. John Daly is extremely outspoken. He is not a fan of Greg Norman, but he's actually defending Jay Monahan in this situation, and I love John Daly, and I respect his opinion. He was on a podcast earlier today. Here's what he had to say about this.
You know what, I don't care. Jay Monahan is doing a great job because he came into something that was a lot more bigger than he was when it comes to Saudi oil and all this. I'm sorry, on the radio, but I'm going to tell you the truth. They love golf, okay? Greg Norman is not my friend. He can go kiss. I hate that son of a. I don't care because I would have played the LIV, and he didn't give me a time of day. But you know what's great? When they come together and doing what they're doing now, it's the greatest thing for golf because it brings back about most of the greatest players that are living right now. What I just said about Greg Norman, I don't care. I hate him. But what I care about is the guys, Brooks Koepka, that won the PGA at Oak Hill, and I care about Dustin Johnson. I care about the guys, Patrick Reed, the players that can play the game, and they're so good at it. I don't care about me. And I don't think this LIV thing is going to really benefit John Daly and the Senior Tour. I hope it does.
Okay, so a couple thoughts on that. I understand what John Daly is saying in the aspect of this is better for maybe the game of golf, because you want the best fields in golf. I get that. But do you want the entire tour run by the Saudi government, let's call it for what it is, blood money? So that's the caveat here. I'm surprised that John Daly is defending Jay Monahan. Here's why. The commissioner of the PGA Tour has been talking a tough game. We played a cut earlier about how this was blood money. And he talked about 9/11 families. And he talked about nobody needs to apologize for playing on the PGA Tour. You didn't even tell Tiger Woods that this was going to happen. You didn't tell any of your players. And apparently he's been in talks for 7 weeks, he said, in a private meeting in Delaware with a bunch of PGA Tour players where some of them, to his face, called him a hypocrite. This makes Rory McIlroy look bad. It makes Tiger Woods look bad. And quite frankly, it makes a lot of PGA Tour players look bad who have been defending the PGA Tour and who have gone after the LIV Tour to an aspect or gone after the Saudi government, rightfully so, doing the right thing. And now they have egg on their face because they did it now for nothing because now all of a sudden we have this merger guy.
All right, here's where I'm at. He needs to resign. I don't agree with anything John Daly says there. What he did, leaving Tiger Woods, leaving Rory McIlroy, leaving those people that turned down hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't care how rich you are, it's still hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars out of respect and their love for the PGA Tour. And then he did that to them without consulting them. And I agree with you on the Saudi thing. They're atrocious people. Their human rights, everything they've done. Their money involvement in 9/11. They have blood on their hands. It is blood money. But I'm putting that aside for a second. These LIV players have now won. They took the weak way out, went to a startup, had fun, and they get paid hundreds of millions of dollars where the loyal players stayed with what made him great, with what made him famous, the PGA Tour, and now they have egg on their face. And look at the tweets by Phil Mickelson saying, what an awesome day, Brooks Koepka. They're all celebrating with their hundreds of millions, and the PGA Tour players are left going, we didn't even get consulted, and now these players get their hundreds of millions of dollars. They get to play the LIV Tour. They're going to get to play the PGA Tour, and all the hard work we've done and everything we've stood up for is now gone because our commissioner is weak. And why did he do this after you? This is what I don't understand. Their ratings were atrocious.
Terrible.
On the CW, they were atrocious. They might have not even had the CW in the coming up years. They were on the hinges of folding, I felt like. And then all of a sudden, boom, snap of a fingers, this happens.
I think
How can this happen?
Okay, good question. And I agree with a lot of what you just said. It's hard for me to criticize a guy like, say, a Dustin Johnson when somebody offers you $100 million. I understand it's the Saudi government. I get that. I'm not defending the Saudi government. But when somebody offers you $100 million to play golf,
would you say no?
You know what? A very difficult situation. I am not going to criticize the individual players. What I am going to, not for that, not for taking the money. What I am going to criticize those players for is doing what they've done over the last year and a half and attacking the PGA Tour. By the way, they were right for everything they said about Jay Monahan because he's a clown.
He's a clown.
But attacking the PGA Tour in general and then gloating on social media. If you're Brooks Koepka, just shut up. If you're Phil Mickelson, just shut up. You don't need to gloat. You know, there are families, and we're going to be speaking to one of those family members who lost his wife on 9/11. Okay? Out of respect to them, don't be, pounding your chest and saying, oh, this is a great day. No, it's not. No, it's not. The fields in golf might be better. Sure. For the game of golf, yeah, you're going to have better fields. You're going to have the best fields in golf. I get that. Stop it. The PGA Tour will never be the same.
No, I'm upset as a fan. That's what I'm upset of more right now. And if I'm being very objective, if I'm a professional golfer and you are offering me $140 million plus $4 to $20 million a purse per tournament if you win it, it is difficult to say no to that amount of money. Yeah. I get that. I'm not blaming it. But the way they've gloated, criticize what made them. Right. The PGA Tour made you who you are and then behave like that, and then we fold. We fold. It's done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think of a player like a guy like a Harold Varner, right? Maybe he's made $1 million in his career. Maybe he's made more. I'm not sure. Maybe he's made a few million. But, I mean, he was very honest. There are some guys who went to LIV who I respect who are at least they're honest about it. They said, listen, I did it for the money. I want to take care of my family. This was an opportunity for me.
I respect that too.
I understand why people have their issues with the Saudi government, but, I need to take care of my family. At least they're being honest about it. And then there are guys that are not honest about it. There are guys that just won't own it and say, listen, I did it for the money. Oh, this is a great tour. It's great for golf. No, it's not.
It's a joke.
Have
you tried watching on TV?
It's a joke. It's unwatchable.
I don't even understand it. The teams, and they don't look like they're trying half the
time. It's unwatchable, and there's no cut. what I love about the PGA Tour is that there's always been a cut. You got to make cuts to
You don't
keep
get paid.
So what is going to happen? See, Monahan was not specific. We don't know what the tour is going to look like. Is there going to continue to be cuts? Are you changing things around? The world ranking is going to stay the same? Are you going to add LIV Golf into the world rankings and how that comes into play? How are majors going to work? You know, they didn't get into any specifics, which I find mesmerizing.
He got asked a bunch of questions. He did not know the answer to one question. Yeah. All he knows is who's it's going to be funded by, which, again, is pretty much the Saudi money. Yeah. They don't know if the PGA Tour players that said no to LIV are going to get paid more. They don't know what the game's going to look like. They don't know anything right now, even if this is going to happen. It has to be approved by a board, too.
Correct. I'd love to know what a guy like a Jack Nicklaus thinks about all this stuff, right? Tiger's got to be really pissed off. Rory McIlroy's pissed. There's a lot of
people. Kick in the guts to Tiger Woods.
And no question. So I know personally 2 PGA Tour players.
Yeah.
I won't say their names, even though anybody that knows me personally knows who I'm talking about. I spoke to a few of them through text message yesterday, and I asked 2 of them to come on today, and they said they couldn't do it. They're going to try to stay out of it, and because they don't want to say things that they regret, but they are pissed off. I spoke to one PGA Tour caddy who caddies for a guy who lives here in Vegas, and he also told me that his player is beyond pissed off. These players are very, very angry. They feel like they were lied to. Jack Nicklaus says that this is good for the game of golf, but it's interesting because Jack Nicklaus is a MAGA, and Jack Nicklaus has stayed away from the Saudi government. He stayed away from, I get it. People out there want to say it's good for the game of golf. That's fine, but this isn't good for humanity. It might be good for a golf field. It might be better for golf in general and TV ratings, but is this good for humanity? Is it good for the Saudi government to be involved in all these American companies? Is it good for Joe Biden to be, and any politician to be, buddying up with the Saudi government? Is that good? I would say no. In the long run, it's not. The Saudis happen to have a lot of money, and they control a lot of
amounts.
No question, and they have a lot. But is money the only reason to deal with these people?
Why is this good for golf?
Well,
I think it causes more animosity between the players. I think it's going to make things more divided unless they get this right and they have to pay every player, including Rory, Tiger, the Japanese guy that won
Hideki Matsuyama.
Masters. Yeah, he turned down $400 million apparently.
Hideki is a guy who won the Masters. He is loved in his country. He's a star. And he wins the Masters, and he's a big player on tour, and he could have easily gone over there to LIV, and he decided not to.
LIV offered him $400 million and a tournament in Japan in front of his home crowd. He said no.
He said no, and that's very admirable. And
I'd be sick if I was him this morning.
These players have to be very upset. And speaking of sick, what about the victims?
Exactly.
Families of the victims who lost loved ones on 9/11. My heart goes out to them. The guy joining us next, we're going to take a break. His name is Charles Wolf. He lost his wife, Catherine. She was 40 years old in one of the towers. 40 years old. And I spoke to Charles yesterday, and I wanted to get his take on this because there's a lot of families like Charles who are very upset.
Understandably.
Rightfully so. And those are the people that I want to hear from. I don't want to hear from Jack Nicklaus. It's like, okay, Jack, you think it's good for golf? Yeah. Why don't you think about the people the Saudi government and the murderous Saudi government, I will say, the evil murderous regime. So Charles is going to be joining us next. He's Guy David. I'm Brian Shapiro. We'll take a quick break. Charles joining us next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey, everybody, it's Brian.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Hour number 2, going to be previewing the NBA Finals. Jesse Merrick, Channel 3 Sports, joining us. Stanley Cup Finals, preview Game 3 as well, which is tomorrow. I want to tell you guys about my favorite gaming bar in Las Vegas, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Today is Wednesday. You earn 200 points, you get to spin the wheel, and you can win, and then earn another 300. Spin it again, you get multiple opportunities to spin the wheel on Wednesdays and Fridays. Earn 1,500 points on Friday, and then the following day on Saturday, you get $100 in free slot play. Please check them out. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, and tell them I sent you. Great food, great atmosphere. All right, so we've been talking about LIV Golf, and we've been talking about the merger with the PGA Tour. And I know there's a lot of people in this country that were greatly affected. I mean, really, we all were, some more than others, by what took place on 9/11. And we know the Saudi government financially backed what took place on that horrific day. And I wanted to get a perspective from someone that was greatly affected by that horrible day. His name is Charles Wolf. He lost his wife, Catherine, sadly, at the age of 40 years old, who was in one of the Twin Tower buildings. And I know Charles has some very strong opinions on this, and he joins us right now on the line. Charles, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Brian?
Doing good, Charles. I appreciate you joining us. I wish it was under better circumstances here. But before I get to the merger with LIV Golf and PGA Tour, can you give me a little bit of your wife's story? Let me start by saying, when did you first meet your wife, and how long were you guys married for?
Well, I met her on July 27th, 1988. She was from Wales. She's British, a graduate of the Royal College of Music in London, and she was the rehearsal accompanist for a amateur operatic society in London. And the community theater group I belonged to was doing a joint show with them. And she came along with them, and I met her outside the rehearsal hall in the basement of a church.
How cool is that? I think that's so awesome.
It was very cool.
You know, this is a story that you've had to regurgitate over and over again, and I know it's not fun for you to do so. But just to give a little bit of background, because obviously I wanted you on to talk about LIV Golf. Can you just take me through that day, as painful as it is, and what you had to go through on that day, and where your wife exactly was on September 11th?
Well, she had just started a new job. August 31st, she began working on the 97th floor of Tower 1 for a company called Marsh and McLennan. And she had a starting time of 9 o'clock. And the weekend starting Labor Day, she came home and said her boss asked her to ask me if it's okay if she started coming in at 8:30 to start his day for him. She was the executive assistant of the president of Marsh's new e-commerce division, and she was very good as an executive assistant, and he needed her help. And so you ask yourself, well, what time did the plane hit? 8:46.
That is just awful. That's terrible. And I can't imagine how excruciating the days, weeks, months, and years have been for you to have to go through something like this. A direct effect, right, of the Saudi government, which we're going to get into, and I'm so sorry for your loss. When you learn that, you know, the Saudi government, obviously Al-Qaeda behind it, Osama bin Laden, but the Saudi government helped fund this terrorist attack, without even getting into LIV Golf to start, how do you feel about our government and financial dealings they have with the Saudis, businesses that work with the Saudis? So how do you feel about that in general?
I wish it wasn't so, but there's two sides of the Saudi government. One is the business side, the other is the clerical side. And I'll lay it to your intuition of which side involved themselves with over a dozen people. It was 9/11, and which side probably may not have even known about it, but we don't know for sure. I'm part of the lawsuit against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I've been to the court hearings right here in Manhattan. I'm talking like every single one of them, and I watch what goes on. And you know, with all good wishes to the golf people, I'm not going to get into that side of it because I've never played a game of golf except miniature golf. So it's not something I watch. I think it's a great sport. I think it's beautiful. The greens and everything else they're beautiful. I did not like the idea of what they were doing with this whole thing with LIV Golf. But there's another angle to this whole thing of them kind of, shall we say, buying peace, which I think is really what the Saudis did here. They bought peace. They saw a huge problem coming up with a lawsuit. They're going to have to testify, depositions, the whole thing that they've been fighting us to do. Okay? Us meaning the 9/11 families. And I live here in Manhattan and kind of know what's going on. And we have proof positive that they were involved in funding and working with, aiding and abetting the terrorists, the 19 and all their support people. It was all planned out, and we have proof. Even the Metropolitan Police in London have given us a videotape of them partying that night.
Wow.
Okay?
That's awful.
That's sickening.
It is awful.
That's just terrible.
But
I didn't even know
something else
that.
has happened here. They are trying to buy peace. The Saudis are trying to buy peace in this very public arena of golf. They're not going to win. They're not going to win on that until they come forward, admit what they did, and allow the court proceedings to come to a completion.
And even with all the evidence, the Khashoggi murder, no one's come forward there either. I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I guess I have to ask you this. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, talking tough on the Saudis for the last year, right? He even mentioned people like you, the families, victims of 9/11. And what would you say to him today if you were in a room with the commissioner of the PGA Tour, as somebody yourself who lost your beautiful wife, Catherine, at the age of 40? What would you say to Jay Monahan if you were in a room with him right now?
I don't know what kind of business decisions they had to make. I have no idea, and I'm not even going to try to imagine that. What I would say to the Saudi government and all their public relations people is stop the nonsense in court. Admit to what you did, because you're never going to have a smooth relationship with the United States until you do. They thought they solved a problem here with the Saudi Gulf, the Gulf issue. They have not. They're leaving the other one buried, totally buried. And that is, they want our weapons, they want our technology, they want people to come vacation there. Do you think a red-blooded American is going to go to Saudi Arabia for a vacation? No. Not until they admit the complicity. Maybe the people that are directly involved, maybe they did. Part of their government did. And we have proof of that. We have absolute proof of that. And they're still trying to stall, and they're doing this and they're doing that in court with all the court maneuvers that can be done. So they think they're bullshitting us. No, they're not at all. The American people need to remember what it is they did. Over 3,000 people dead on that day, and more people are dying of disease caused from the collapse and the poisonous smoke that came from the collapse of the World Trade Center. That's the important thing. That's the important thing right there. They're not going to have any peace with the American people until they fess up, pay up, apologize. Period.
You're exactly right, Charles, because everything they've done to try and make peace feels irrelevant because they've never said the one thing everyone wants to hear. It was us. We did it. Even with the Khashoggi murders, the evidence is undeniable, right? They still lie and say they weren't involved in it. I'm sorry about your loss. Just getting back to LIV Golf for a second. What did you feel, or do you hold any animosity or anger to the players that actually signed these $100 million deals like Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka? How do you feel when you hear they signed these massive contracts and deflected to LIV Golf?
Personally, I was disappointed because our values are more important than money. And I think that's what you were getting at right before you brought me on. The values of this country. There's a phrase in the Bible, I think it's Matthew chapter 24, I forget now. Man cannot serve two masters, meaning either money or God, which is your values. You have to remember your values. Mm-hmm. You have to. And to walk away from them is not a good thing. Now, the American government does business with Saudi Arabia, but that tends to be more of a necessity than anything else. We are all interconnected in this world, and I'm not trying to minimize things, but there are things that we need from them and so forth. That has to go on for the security of the nation, and so be it. But the rest of it, no, it doesn't have to go on. And I was disappointed to hear about that. But I also knew that there was nothing I could do about it.
Right.
And so you have to pick and choose your battles. If you can affect something, like I hope some of their PR people are listening or will listen to this, because they're not going to get anywhere. The American people, they may not talk about it every day, but there's a deep-seated animosity for people all over the country. And I know because I hear from them from time to time.
If you are just joining us, we're speaking with Charles Wolf. He lost his wife, Catherine. She was 40 years old on 9/11 in one of the Trade Center buildings. And it's interesting, Charles, because what you just said, it's very interesting to me because you used the term necessity, right? there are certain things that you have to do, and you have to work with people, in this case, maybe the Saudi government, out of necessity. And I hear that, and that makes sense. But some of these PGA Tour players, like a Dustin Johnson, like a Phil Mickelson, yes, they're being offered a lot of money, and a part of me says, boy, that's tough to turn down. But is that a necessity? You still have a ton of money. You still are living a great life. You can still feed your family. You're not poor. Yes, I understand it's a lot of money, but it's not a necessity, right? I mean, and that's the point you're trying to make, which I think I hear what you're saying, and I agree with.
I'm not going to judge them. That's for someone else. Okay? That's for someone else. It's like I was asked when Bin Laden was killed and then his body dumped out in the ocean, and some broadcasters asked me, aren't you disappointed that Bin Laden didn't get brought home for trial? And I said, no court on earth could met out the type of justice that our maker is meting out right now. So although it's not exactly as serious as that, I think you may get my drift here. And that is, they have to live with this. They have to live with this now and hereafter. I don't know what their circumstances are. I don't know what their health is like. So I'm not going to judge. I may be disappointed, but I'm not going to judge any individual. I can only say that I know who funded 9/11. I know who was complicit in the actual operations of it, not just the money side, but the operations of it.
Charles,
that's why I'm aiming my opinion.
Gotcha.
Charles, this might be hard for you, and I completely understand if you don't want to relive it, but it just helps from a perspective of other people that went through it and want to know about it. Can you take us back to that fateful day, September 11th, 2001? Did you see it on the TV? Did you get a phone call? Did you start out?
Here, I'll explain the whole thing.
The whole thought process.
I'll explain the whole thing.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I live 1 mile north of the Trade Center. I still live in the same place I live when my wife was here with me. Okay. It was a beautiful morning. I'm a private pilot, what we in aviation called a severe clear. You could see forever and ever until the curvature of the earth came in. I was sitting, she had left. I gave her a kiss goodbye. She left at 8:06. And it's 2 stops to the World Trade Center from where we live in Greenwich Village. 2 stops on the subway. I'm sitting here working at my desk right where I am right now speaking to you. Sliding glass door is wide open, and all of a sudden I hear a plane so low and going very fast. And I knew from my experience as a pilot, it was a twin-engine jet. I said, what is the military doing exercises in the middle of Manhattan? Because I knew it was way too low for a civilian aircraft. I ran to the balcony, which looked in the direction the plane came from. And it was just total silence. And then I heard the big kaboom. And I thought to myself, he hit the sound barrier? And I go, no, he was going fast, but he wasn't going that fast. Because again, I've been to a lot of air shows in my life and know what the sound of things are. And then a woman on the street yelled up, because I'm about 3 stories up, she yelled out, oh my God, a plane's gone into the World Trade Center. And I yelled back, are you kidding me? So I ran downstairs in my short summer pajamas, my bare feet, standing in the middle of the street where I live, and it looks directly down at where the original Tower 1 was. And I saw the gash in the building, and I thought to myself, what do I do? What do I do? And all of a sudden in my head, I saw chaos on the ground with police barriers and this, and I realized when she comes down, she might leave her purse, which has her cell phone. She might not remember my cell phone number, but she will remember the home phone number. Because remember, not everybody had cell phones back in 2001. And so I ran back upstairs. I had to look up both her cell phone number and her office number because they were both brand new. And all I got was the fast busy signal. So but I knew something that no one else did. And I knew that was deliberate. Because I knew when that instant the plane flew over our apartment, I knew it was a twin engine jet at full takeoff throttle. I knew the sound, and I called the FBI and I told them.
Wow. And you know, a lot of people didn't realize that it was intentional. And once
I'm
until
the
that
first one. I'm the first one that told them, because what happened was I called the FBI and I told them that it is intentional, and then I hung up, and then my wife's father called from Swansea, Wales, and I couldn't tell him any information, and then I realized that the FBI agent didn't believe me because they didn't tell him I was a pilot. So I called back. I got the same guy and told him who I was again, and told him, I know what I'm talking about. I had legitimacy, you might say. And would you believe that a year later, when I went into the reading tent to read names at the first anniversary, and I saw Hillary Clinton there, whom I had met on Christmas Eve at the Cathedral St. John the Divine in Upper Manhattan, and I approached her and said hello, and I told her more details about the story than I just told you, and all of a sudden a man standing a few feet in back of her says, wait a minute, that voice, your voice. I know that voice. I know your voice. I'm the one that took your call.
Wow.
The very man who had taken my call that morning was there. The FBI agent was there guarding Hillary Clinton.
Wow, that is so ironic. That's so wild. That's so crazy. I guess I would ask this question: did you get any answers as to, you know, Catherine didn't have to suffer, that it was quick?
I found out on Thursday or Friday, Marcia McLennan was holding meetings, and we were asking questions, and the man, Fran Boncino, I remember very clearly, so clearly. And someone asked him, he says, where did the plane hit? And I had thought it hit on a different floor, but it hit between the 93rd and the 98th floor. But it was banked to the left, so it would stretch over more floors. And remember, in an airplane, the fuel tank is in the wings.
Right.
So it took it from 91 up to 99.
Yeah.
And then someone else asked, what's the highest floor anybody got out of? And they said the 91st floor, because they had been in touch with everybody, all the other companies. And at that point, I knew she was gone. But that was Thursday, I believe it was.
Yeah, and here we are today, so many years later, and to me, it feels like it was just yesterday. And certainly our lives, your lives, so many lives have never been the same. I have to ask you this, you know, getting a little off topic, but you're a New Yorker, right? You've lived there for most of your life, right?
Well, I've been here for 44 years now,
right,
in New York City. But I was actually born and raised in Buffalo, New York, at the other end of the state.
Okay, cool.
But I did live in Indiana for 10 years.
What? Oh, okay, cool. So what do you make of, you know, back in that day, you know, people looked at Rudy Giuliani as some sort of hero, right? For the way he handled those days and months. And I would even argue years afterwards. What do you make of the former mayor now and where he's at now and what so many think of him today?
I have no control over what people think of him, of course. I think he did a great job post 9/11. He really did. And there was movement by the people to keep him in as mayor, but that was not possible. And so we had Michael Bloomberg come in, who did a great job. What Mr. Giuliani does now, that is his business. I really don't have an opinion of him. At this point, I just am grateful that he did the good job that he did back in 2001.
Charles, I'm sorry, are you remarried? Did you have children with your...
Catherine and I have no children. And in fact, we were actually on the Friday night, it was a Friday or Saturday night before 9/11, we were just discussing, are we or are we not? Because I wanted to make it an active decision, not a passive one.
Right.
And we had, you know, she was a little, she wasn't sure if she wanted children, but so we did not have children. I have not married again. I got quite sick from the toxic smoke emanating from the fires that collapsed. I got sick.
Wow.
Actually, it was started in 07, but it really got bad in 09, and I was sick for the next 8 years until like 2017, 2018.
Oh my goodness.
All this stuff got in me, and fortunately, I mean, the doctors told me they didn't even know why it was going on, and I was advised by my psychotherapist who was helping me with the PTSD. She advised me to go to a one particular alternative medicine doctor, and he immediately started working on things, and bit by bit, and I'm a healthy man again, which I'm very grateful.
People don't realize, and I do, but because we have a mutual friend and we talk about this all the time, but people don't realize just because you didn't die on 9/11 doesn't mean physically you're not still suffering. There are so many people out there with the breathing issues and the toxins that they took in, people like you and so many others out there, and they just don't understand. I think this is the most. Go ahead.
Can I mention one thing here?
Sure.
I became one of the major post 9/11 activists. And the first thing I worked on was the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. And in short, basically, Congress had to protect United and American Airlines from being sued into total bankruptcy because they carried more than half the freight in passenger traffic. It would have been an economic disaster. So they limited them to the amount of insurance they had in terms of their liability. Well, unfortunately, that cut us out of the game. So they set up a fund to replicate what would happen in court, but this time it happened within the government itself, and basically it's as if we had won a wrongful death lawsuit. Well, the man who started running it, who volunteered, run it for free, he was well, let me put it this way: nobody liked him and everybody hated him. And for a year and a half, I worked on him, and I got him to change the way he ran the fund.
Wow.
And he asked for my advice, then he took my advice, and then I had a website up since September 1st of 2002, and on November 30th I put up not a replacement, but I put another page up telling people that he had changed the way he was going and they should sign up, and 97% of the families signed up. That's and then great. He wrote a memoir. Someone bought the movie rights. Then they came to me, asked for my side of the story, and a movie is out about my work.
Yes, and you talked to me a little bit about that movie last night. I haven't had a chance to catch it yet, but I will. Listen, we've asked you questions about LIV Golf and the merger, and I think they're appropriate questions to ask. But my final question to you, I think,
before you go to your final question, can I mention the name of the movie? Is that all right?
Absolutely, please do. Yeah,
the movie is on Netflix. It is called Worth, WORTH, as in what is life worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars, as me, by name, it stars Stanley Tucci.
Yes, and I want people to go out there and check it on Netflix. I have Netflix. I'm going to you had mentioned to me on the phone yesterday, if you're going to watch it, you got to watch the whole thing from start to end. So I'm going to do that this weekend.
I love Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, so super cool.
Michael Keaton is also co-starring as the special master.
Love Michael Keaton.
And he does a great job. He really does a great job. They both do.
Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah,
Can't wait to watch it. We've asked you a lot of questions. I've asked you questions about LIV Golf and the merger because I think you're the perfect person and your opinion matters here. But I think this is the most important question that I'm going to ask you in this interview. Talk to me about your wife, Catherine. Talk to me about the kind of person she was, how you want her to be remembered.
Catherine was a very special person, We fell in love in 1 minute. As I came down the stairs to that church basement, at first from behind, I thought she was somebody else. And then I realized she wasn't. And within a minute or two, it was like all over. It was like, who is that girl? I have got to get to know her. And people around there, my theater friends saw it. They saw it happen. We ended up getting married in a registry office wedding in Swansea on September 1st of 89. And then I had a big church wedding at the Cathedral St. John the Divine in October of 2013. So Catherine was very special. A lovely lilting Welsh accent. It's like the message I would receive, when she got home to visit her parents. She says, "Hello, it's me. I'm in Swansea." and anybody that lives in the UK knows about the lilting Welsh accent, the sing-song up and down.
She could understand her all the time, right?
Say what?
You could understand her accent all the time. Welsh can be good.
Except when she was visiting her father, who came from the Welsh Valleys. And then she came back with more of a Welsh Valleys accent, and it was like, can you say that again, please? Because they kind of talk in the back of their mouth, but she would pick it up. She was a fabulous musician, graduate of the Royal College of Music in London. One of her people she worked for was a trumpeter named John Wallace, who was first trumpeter of the London Philharmonia in the 1980s, and trumpeter who played at Prince Charles and Diana's wedding.
Oh, wow.
So she was very, very good. But she was very supportive. She was just, everybody loved her. Oh, they loved her more than they loved me. Heck, they didn't love me at all, but they loved her. They liked me, but they didn't love me.
Well,
she was great. She was dedicated. It's the only difficulty I ever had was in those words that mean something similar but not the same in American English and British English. And that tripped me up a few times, tripped us both up a few times. But she was absolutely wonderful. Wonderful woman.
Sounds like she was an absolutely amazing woman. And like I said, I'm so sorry for your loss, but you know, as we say, right, let the memory be a blessing. And I really do appreciate your perspective on this whole thing. I really do. I'd love to have you on the show again down the road. And, you know, people like you are why we talk about these issues and fight, right? And talk about atrocities. And I couldn't agree with you more about the Saudis and how they need to own the things that they have done in the past. But I appreciate your time, Charles. Thank you so much.
Brian, they need to man up.
I agree.
Well,
100%.
Man up and own it.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And
I couldn't agree with you more.
Swallow the bitter pill and move on.
Yeah, at a minimum, that's what they should do. I couldn't agree with you more. Get to check out the film Worth on Netflix. And Richard, I'm sorry, Charles. Did I call you Richard? I don't know where that came from. Charles, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate you and your story, and I'm sorry for your loss and appreciate your perspective on this and love to have you on the show again down the road. Okay, Charles, thank you so much.
Nice to be with you, Brian.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Really appreciate you. That's Charles
Bye-bye.
Wolf. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you. That's Charles Wolf. As I mentioned, you know, sometimes you do interviews like that and they're emotional. You know, they're emotional. He lost his wife. It sounds like she was just a wonderful woman at the age of 40. Why?
It's hard to fathom, isn't it?
It
just
is.
talking about kids going to decide she just started a new job. She came in earlier because her boss wanted her to, or it might never have happened.
Yeah.
So many amazing.
And I have stories like that. I have guests on September 11th, the anniversary. Every year I've had guests like that on, and reporters and people who lost loved ones. And I can only say a guy that, you know, I was in college. I was this dumb kid, you know, back in some would argue I'm still a dumb kid.
I was in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big Howard Stern fan growing up. And I'm driving to school, Central Connecticut State University. I still live with my folks and driving to my Spanish class. I think I was like a freshman in college or maybe a sophomore. I'm trying to remember. And I'm listening to the Howard Stern show. It was a morning ritual for me. I would listen to the Stern show on the way to work. And one second he's talking about Pamela Anderson. And the next second he says, wow, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it was probably like a 2-person propeller plane or something like that. That's weird. Didn't think much of it. Turn the radio off. I get to my class, and as class was about an hour and a half. Get out of class, and all of a sudden I see like 30 people huddled around this little TV. There weren't really flat screens back then. This little TV, and I'm seeing the Twin Towers collapsing, and everybody, I'll never forget this. Everybody was like, I guess, in shock. I remember the look on everybody's faces, and I don't know what the hell's going on. And then people are saying a plane hit the Pentagon and the country's under attack, right? I go into my next class, which is a communications class, and I'll never forget what my professor said. He said, this day we are going to remember for the rest of our lives, and our livelihood is going to change and will never be the same. You're free to go.
That's how he ended the class.
He just said, you're free to go.
You go.
And I went home and watched the news on television all day, and he was right.
He was right.
And, you know, I went to school 1.5 hours, 2 hours from Manhattan. My uncle lives on East 65th Street, not very far. And, yeah, he was right.
The world became smaller that day. It was one of those days where everyone in the world, I don't care where you're from, remembers where they were and what they were doing and what time zone they were in when the plane hit the World Trade Centers.
No question. And the world was watching, and we certainly won't forget people like Catherine and good people like Charles Wolf. We still suffer every day from that horrible, horrible day. And shame on the Saudis, and I could not agree with them more. Own what you did. You can send all the money in the world to America and be a peaceful, try to help golf or do whatever. Own what you did.
It was such a profound statement by him, and it makes sense. Everyone wants closure.
Yeah, closure, and own what you did. My thanks to Charles for coming on. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hard to make a transition from an interview like that to a little bit of NBA basketball, but we're going to preview the NBA Finals Game 3. He's Guy David. I'm Brian Shapiro. Take a quick break. Be back right after this.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
KSHP North Las Vegas, 107.1 FM, 1400 AM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and online at kshp.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. You know, it's Guy's first day here as my co-host, but he will not be here tomorrow. He has a doctor appointment. So I'm giving you a
Sorry.
pass. You get a hall pass.
I actually didn't sleep thinking
Yes.
about how I was going to tell you last night. Is he going to accept that
It's
I need
allowed,
to see a doctor?
But I know it's really a tough job to do, but I'm going to have to drag Guy David to Sapphire Gentlemen's Club, the adult pool on Friday, where we'll be broadcasting live. John Acosta will be joining us, by the way. He is world-renowned Bee Gees performer.
Yeah, I heard a bit of him. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
The part I actually didn't tell you was my doctor's appointment was originally scheduled for Friday, and then I heard we were going to be at Sapphire, so I may have changed it.
You're
to
a
Thursday.
very smart man.
Yeah,
You're a
just
very,
kidding.
very smart man. But yeah, we will be at Sapphire as we are every other week during the pool season. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. They set us up with a cabana, food and drinks, and
I know.
you are welcome to come by and say hello as we broadcast the show live. Man, we had DJ Ashba a couple weeks ago, one of the most popular DJs, not just in Vegas, but on the planet. He's signing a new deal on the Strip for a residency. We had him showing up. We had comedians. We've had politicians. We've had professional athletes, former professional athletes. I know Marcus Banks, the former Celtic and former UNLV running Rebel, is going to be joining us on Friday. So
whoever we want to get into interview, we ask them for that particular day.
Absolutely.
I think it makes things a little easier for some reason.
And I'll tell you
I don't know why.
After I'm done with the radio show in this radio station, all due respect, the people here are very nice. I get the hell out of here and I go home. But not the case after the show at Sapphire. I'm hanging out there for a very, very long time.
I have a little bit of John Acosta from the last time he was on the show.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yes.
so John Acosta,
I heard
who's
a lot of great things
the
about
Bee
it.
Gees
Never got a
impersonator.
chance to see Prince.
That's Chris
So,
Wynn.
unfortunately,
Wait, hold
passed
on.
away
We don't want to hear
on that-
Chris.
in that
Yeah,
show
we don't
here
want
in
to hear
Vegas.
Chris. Yeah, that was awful. We don't.
If I gave
There
you
you go.
diamonds and pearls,
That's John Acosta. That's his Prince impersonation.
would you be a happy boy or a
Guys, tell me.
He's very, very good.
Joining us Friday
Yeah.
at Sapphire. That place is top.
I'm not sure how he's going to be able to sing while we have blasting music in the background. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But anyway, he's a very talented guy, and we're going to have some other celebrity guests that are going to be joining us on Friday. So please come out. I also want to tell you guys about my good friend Blake Gwynn. You might remember the name. His grandfather is the former governor here in the great state of Nevada. So I got to tell you something. He is a real estate agent with the Willow Manor Group. And my parents are moving out here in a few months, and I gave my mom his number. He's been nothing but kind to her with the Willow Manor Group and his assistant, and they're doing everything they can to help my family find a home out here that they can afford. God, they have been so great, and Blake's been living here his whole life. You don't want a real estate agent that just got here, right? Doesn't know the area, doesn't know anything about Las Vegas. Even if you're thinking of buying a home, please contact Blake. I promise him and the Willow Manor Group will take care of you. Give him a call. I'm going to give out the number now. You mention my name, you're going to get a discount, and you're going to save money. 702-540-3311. I'll give out that number again. Blake Gwynn with the Willow Manor Group. If you're thinking of buying a home, this guy is the best in the business. 702-540-3311. Speaking of the best in the business, because I'm so good at making a transition, not the transitions that so many right-wingers out there don't like.
I'm interested to hear this one.
Not that kind of transition. Speaking of best in the business, the Joker, ladies and gentlemen, is this guy a physical specimen? Have you ever seen a big man pass the ball the way this guy does? He's just a lot of fun to watch, and he's great for the game of basketball. But the Denver Nuggets laid an egg in the fourth quarter the other night, and all of a sudden the Miami Heat are back in this series 1-1. And now the series moves to Miami for Game 3 tonight. I believe the tip-off time is somewhere around 5:30. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this series as a whole, Guy. I want to get your opinions on it. But I love Spoelstra. I think he's a great coach.
Best
I
in
love
the game.
Jimmy Butler and what he brings to the table. But I also love some of these role players. Adebayo's not a role player. He is a legitimate all-star. The guy is unbelievable. But when you look at the way Vincent shot the other night, even
Max Strauss.
Strauss made some threes. I loved Kevin Love's presence on the floor. I thought starting him was a big deal. That was a huge deal. But this is going to be a fun game tonight. And while everyone wanted to see Lakers Celtics, and I grew up a Celtics fan, and that would have been great, don't get me wrong, this is a great series. If you're a basketball purist, you love this NBA Finals. I love it because you've got one of the best centers he's going to be to ever play the game.
Yep.
Okay, the Joker. And then you have just hard-nosed defense, right? You know, good offense where I love the way Denver and Miami, the way they share the ball. I'd rather watch this NBA Finals than any Golden State Warrior Finals because there's not a ton of one-on-one. There's a lot of sharing the basketball, good, tough defense, and great fundamentals. And I'm really looking forward to the game tonight. I'm really excited.
I was listening to ESPN on the way in, and they said the ratings are up for this final series significantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was interesting because you look at the two teams, Denver Nuggets, Miami Heat. Could have been Boston, LA. LA could have been in it. You think it's going to be a colossal failure for the NBA. It hasn't been. And that's because of Miami Heat, I believe. I don't think they are getting the credit they deserve. This could be one of the greatest stories in sports for a few reasons. They were the 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
They nearly lost in the play-in to Chicago. They were 2 points away. Max Strauss hit a 3 to win them the game. If he missed that, they wouldn't be here.
True.
4 of their 5 starters are undrafted players. They were the lowest scoring team in the NBA in the regular season. Put all this together, they are now 3 wins away from winning the NBA championship. This is unheard of, and it's for a few reasons. Jimmy Butler's tenacity, the way Bam's playing, their three-point shooting, they live and die by the three-point shot. It's also about Eric Spoelstra, though. That guy is the best coach in the game. The way he adjusts, the moves he makes, starting Kevin Love the other night. It is a fascinating series now. And then you have Denver, which you literally might have one of the greatest players of all time by the end of his career.
I agree.
What he's doing is unprecedented and unheard of for a 7'2" center. And that's what makes this game tonight so interesting. Because on paper, Denver's clearly the better team.
Right.
But right now, Miami are playing that Miami basketball that we've come accustomed to, and tonight is going to be the telling factor. I think Denver are going to win, but I can say that with zero confidence.
Well, here's my opinion on the game tonight, and I've been pretty vocal on this the last couple of days. I absolutely am confident. I believe Denver wins tonight, and here's why. I love Coach Malone.
He says it straight out.
Great coach. Straight shooter. Very similar, and we're going to talk Vegas Golden Knights. I was going to say very similar to Cassidy in that he holds players accountable. And if you're just joining us, we're talking NBA Finals. Jesse Merrick from Channel 3 Sports is going to be joining us next segment. We're going to talk a little Vegas Golden Knights hockey, but very similar to Cassidy in a sense that he holds players accountable, right? And after the game, too, Malone was pissed off.
Hugely.
He went into the press conference and he basically, let's just call it for what it is, he said, we didn't play hard. We didn't play hard enough to win. Miami out-hustled us. And he said, I'm very concerned about that. And I think that was his moment to call out his team. Not anybody individually, but basically he said, listen, they know why they lost this game. They didn't play hard enough. I'm concerned. This is the NBA Finals. That's not an excuse. Miami outworked us. And that's really, to me, the only way Miami can win a basketball game against Denver in this series is do what they did in Game 2, and that's just outwork you.
But you look at Game 1, and Miami live and die by the three-point shot. If they don't hit that shot, they can't win. They were not open at all in Game 1. I didn't think Denver played that well. Miami couldn't make shots.
Denver's defense was better, but you're right. I don't think Denver was great in Game 1 either. I think
So how much in Game 2 they were just open the whole time, and they hit the threes,
right?
And they couldn't be stopped. Yeah. How much is that on Mike Malone as well as the players, though?
It's a good question. I like Mike Malone a lot.
So do I.
I think his team got a little complicit and maybe a little cocky, and maybe they heard a little bit of the noise from the outside. Miami has no chance to win the series. Denver's just a better team. And maybe they took that a little bit for granted. I don't blame that on Malone. Malone shouldn't have to go into the locker room and say, hey, guys, this is the NBA Finals. Let's give it 100%. That's not really, Malone's job is to put players in the best situations and the best places to win. Malone is to me, I said this before, earlier in the year, Malone's one of the most underrated coaches in the league. Really good coach. Spoelstra is headed towards the Mount Rushmore of coaches in the NBA.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, let me be very clear. And I don't think this is going to happen, but if the Miami Heat defeat the Denver Nuggets and win this series, Spoelstra has to go down as one of the top 5 NBA coaches of all time.
Completely agree with you.
It is unbelievable what he's even done to get here to this point.
A lot of people would think that's absolutely crazy, but winning a championship with this team, not LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and also making the finals in the bubble a few years before with a similar team,
correct?
That puts him as one of the greatest of all time. You're
Agree.
right. So what do they go back to Miami? 2-2? Denver 2-2? 3-1?
I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe Denver wins convincingly tonight. I think it's a wake-up call. Game 2 was a wake-up call for them. They realize how important this game is because you lose and you're down 2-1.
Not good.
You really got to win Game 4. I don't think here's my opinion. The Joker's been phenomenal. He's going to continue to be phenomenal. I don't think Murray allows his team to lose. Excuse me. I think Murray goes off. I think the effort is there. And when the one thing I remember from Game 2, the start. Miami got off to a really good start. They got off to a start that they needed. Now, listen, Denver came back, but Strus hit some threes. Miami got some stops early. I don't think that happens tonight. I think Denver gets off to a good start. I think their intensity is going to be there, and I think they're going to be ready to play, and I think they're going to win this game handily. I don't think they're just going to win by a couple. I think they're going to win by double digits.
So Joker scored 43 last game.
Right.
Lost. Against the Suns, Game 3, scored 53.
Right.
Loss.
Right.
When they win Denver, he usually gets about a 25-point triple-double.
Mm-hmm.
Have they found a formula limiting his assists, and he scores a lot more?
I think you kind of have to.
Miami have?
I think you got to kind of take your medicine. He's going to score his points, but
is that's good for the Heat? Statistically, it looks like
sometimes it is. I think you have to be able to contain Murray, and for the most part, they were able to do that in Game 2, at least in the fourth quarter. And there was a in order for Miami to win, you have to go through 4 or 5 minutes and get multiple stops. I mean, I think the Denver Nuggets in the fourth quarter at home through 7.5 minutes only scored 1 field goal. Now, I understand a part of that is Denver just missing shots, but a big part of that is Miami clamping down and playing really good physical defense. The reason why they won Game 2 is because they were more physical. And Spoelstra talked about that in Game 1, that they lost the physical battles, right? They were more physical than Denver in Game 2. Now, the crowd's going to be loud. Miami is a fun place to play. It's an arena that is loud. The celebrities, everyone's going to be there. If you're Miami, you got to be feeling good about yourself. You go into Denver, you're trying to get one. They were able to do that. Surprised a lot of people. Not me. I picked Miami to win that game. But I even threw a few shekels on that game too.
Nicely done.
But I can tell you right now, and I could be wrong, I am going with Denver tonight.
I agree with you. Denver 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
You taking that?
I didn't mess the points. I just took the money line, but I do think Denver wins this game, and it wouldn't surprise me if they win by double digits. It would surprise me if Miami won tonight. Not because Miami's not an extremely well-coached team. I love Butler. I love these guys. I think the only way Miami wins tonight is you got to get something from Caleb Martin. He was terrible in the first 2 games of this series. Caleb Martin needs to play better.
He's playing injured, apparently.
He's disappeared, and I understand that, but he's got to score. And he was a vital part in Game 7 against the Boston Celtics.
26 points, yeah.
They need his offense tonight. And you can't expect a guy like a Gabe Vincent, to score 23 again. You can't expect that. He could, but you can't expect that. You can't expect Strus to hit a bunch of threes. You can't. I do expect Adebayo to have a good game. He's been very consistent.
Jokic can't really defend.
Right. I mean, that's a fun. You want to talk about a fun matchup?
Yeah.
2 extremely skilled big men. I mean, the Joker's probably going to go down as the best passing big man in the history of the game.
I think he already is.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a bettor making national news. He put $3.5 million on the Nuggets to win Game 3. That makes me a little nervous. But
$3.5 million?
Yeah, that's
Is it the Texas guys at Mattress Mac?
Yeah, Mattress Mac.
It is Mattress Mac?
No, it's not. But he's done this show before.
It's a Nevada bettor.
A Nevada bettor. $3.5 million on the Nuggets. Now, listen, I like the bet. I wonder if that's money line or the point spread. I like the bet, but
$3.5 million.
It's a lot of coin.
How much money do you have?
Put it this way: if the Nuggets lose tonight, I would bet the house that they win Game 4. But I just,
But you're more nervous if they lose tonight, right?
Yeah, but in my history of covering professional sports, this isn't always the case. But like in an NBA Finals, or in a playoff run, or in a crucial game, could be Major League Baseball, could be football, basketball, any of the major sports, right? When your head coach calls out your entire team, and that's what Coach Malone did, an entire team of professionals, when your coach does that, usually, not all the time, but usually the team responds. And if the Denver Nuggets just play decent good, they don't even have to play great because they weren't great in game one. If they just play well, good, they're going to win this basketball game tonight. Because if Miami plays a good game and Denver plays a good game, Denver's a better basketball team.
I agree.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. also has to show up. They can't be completely reliant on Jokic and Murray. Porter's done nothing. Gordon's putting all his effort on defense. He's had to guard everyone in this playoff series.
Yeah.
Michael Porter has to show up. Quick question for you hypothetically.
Yeah.
Panthers come back and beat the Knights. Miami beat Denver.
Yep.
What is the better story in sports?
It's a really good question. I think Miami. And the reason why I say that is because the Florida Panthers have been very good the last several years. Them beating the Boston Bruins is a big story. And
if Pittsburgh won, they didn't make the playoffs.
Correct. So that, don't get me wrong, Florida's a good story. The only reason why I say Miami is because, Miami in the play-in, Miami with the lowest scoring average in points throughout the regular season. Florida's a good hockey team. I understand that they weren't a number 1 or number 2 seed. I get that. But Florida, anybody going into the playoffs was saying, including those on the NHL Network, that Florida was a very dangerous team. I didn't hear anybody on the NBA Network saying that Miami's really dangerous. You don't want to play them in the first round. And nobody thought that Miami would get to the NBA Finals. Literally nobody.
No, you're right. I agree with you.
There are people that said Florida was the sleeper, and I heard people say Boston was going to have a tough time with Florida because of their goaltending. Kachuk is a superstar. They have superstars on this team, and Florida has been really good for the last several years. They win a lot of games during the regular season. They've been very good. So while this would be a great story, and I don't think that Florida is going to win, I think Miami would be the better story. I really do, especially in the NBA, when it seems like the favorites in the NBA always win the championship. Not the case in the NHL. Or not as much.
There. It's unbelievable.
It really is. So this is going to be a fun game. I'm going to be watching it at the C-Win household, so there's going to be a lot of screaming.
Putting my money on Nuggets.
I like
Brian Shapiro.
I like the Nuggets. I do. I like the Nuggets to win today, and apparently a couple other people do. Somebody put Caesars Sportsbook $2.75 million. Somebody put $3.5 million in bets. Somebody put $2.75 million on the Nuggets at -2.5, and then we have another bettor who bet $750,000 on the Nuggets first half -1.
No, that's the breakdown of that guy's 3.5.
The breakdown of the $3.5 million. So he made a first half bet of $750,000. And he made a full game bet -2.5.
This makes me nervous. I think Denver's going to win because they have superior talent, but Miami's done this to Milwaukee, Boston, everybody. You can't keep disrespecting this team.
That's a lot of money.
To the tune of $3 million.
And I am not disrespecting the Miami Heat in any way, shape, or form. I just think with the disappointing fourth quarter that Denver had, and with the great coaching staff that they have, Malone's a great coach, I think teams are going to be ready to go. They're going to be focused. They're not going to allow to happen in Game 2, at least in the fourth quarter. Keep in mind, they had an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter. They fell apart in the fourth quarter.
Miami never went away.
Yeah, but that's not. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. I think Denver's going to be focused. I think the defense, the intensity, and I think they're going to win the physical battles. But you know what?
Denver will not win, man, if they don't make adjustments and more effort defensively.
Yeah.
They were atrocious game 2 defensively.
Agree. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, but maybe I go on the air tomorrow and maybe I have egg on my face and I was wrong. I guess we'll see, Guy.
Yep.
That's why we watch the games, and it should be entertaining and a lot of fun. Speaking of entertaining and a lot of fun, the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals up 2-0. This is unbelievable. I went to both games at home. I even talked to Jack Eichel after Game 2. So what's going to happen in Game 3 tomorrow? Well, man who covers the Vegas Golden Knights, does a great job at Channel 3. Jesse Merrick's going to be joining us next. We'll get his thoughts on Game 3 and what has transpired up to this point. We'll take a quick break. He's Guy David. I'm Brian Shapiro. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Gwynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit SapphirePoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Wednesday. We were just talking hoops. Speaking of hoops, the 7-footer himself, NBA veteran, player and coach Paul McKeskey is going to be joining us in studio tomorrow.
He's a beast.
He's a big guy.
It's quite humbling because not many people get to stand next to 7-foot-tall people. So
that
you
is
don't
true.
Realize how actually big that is.
That is true. And I watched him swing a golf club. His golf clubs are bigger than my whole body. But anyway, he'll be joining us in studio tomorrow. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care, located at Sahara and Jones. You don't even need an appointment. You can just walk right in. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. But if you want to give them a call, you can. Again, they take most insurances. And I got to tell you, man, second to none when it comes to treatment there. Jessica and Andrew will take care of you. Please give them a call. You don't want to take my word for it. 702-248-0554. But I'm also a client. I'm sounding like those Rogaine commercials, which clearly didn't work for the top of my bald head. But you can also check them out online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. 702-248-0554. You know, there's a lot of great local sports guys that have done a phenomenal job. Well, maybe I shouldn't say a lot. There are some in this town that do a great job in covering the Vegas Golden Knights. Brian Salmon's on this show all the time. I love Channel 3. I love what they do. Chris Matthews, Ron Futura. I get these guys on the show all the time. And, God, we haven't had this guy on for a little while. The Cougar Hunter himself is joining us. Always love having Jesse Varick joining us on the show from Channel 3. Jesse, my man, what's going on?
The Cougar Hunter. How about that? I love it. I might have to change my social media handles to that now.
The Cougars like Jesse. Hey, Jesse's a good-looking guy. What are you going to do? You know, I'm jealous.
If someone says it about you, absolutely change your handle. Because you can say, it wasn't me just being arrogant.
That's right.
I got told that.
By the way, hockey, NHL players have beautiful wives, by the way.
I noticed that.
I noticed that as well. So, Jesse, this has been quite the ride, hasn't it, this Vegas Golden Knights season? If I told you at the beginning of the year, day one, that we wouldn't really have a legitimate, I shouldn't say legitimate, but we would have like 20 different goaltenders. Logan Thompson would get hurt, Robin Leonard with surgery, and Aiden Hill would get us to the Stanley Cup Finals to this point with a 2-0 lead. What would you have said?
Yeah, I think everybody would have taken the bet on that one against it. You know, I mean, it's pretty wild to see what they've done. I believe it was, I forget what month it was, where they went through 5 different goalies in that month, and I believe went 5-0. You know, it just, especially though too, like the way that Aiden Hill has caught fire is the craziest part to me. And like you guys have been in there, you know, for the Stanley Cup Final, games 1 and 2, the ovation that guy got. I mean, it was as loud, if not louder, than what Marc-Andre Fleury got. And that, to me, is also just as crazy. So, I mean, props to him for, you know, settling in and playing outside of his mind and, you know, having the playoff run of his career. You know, I think a lot of people, if you would have told them, hey, the Knights are going to make the Stanley Cup Final right when the Laurent Brossoit went down, they would have thought you're crazy. Back then, like I said before all that, if you would have laid this all out, there's no way any of us would have believed it. You know, and that just goes to show the depth of the system. And, you know, again, you can ride a hot hand in the NHL playoffs, and that's exactly what's happened.
Couldn't agree with you more. And let's talk a little. There's so many different storylines to get to with you, but let's continue with Aiden Hill. His demeanor, calm, confident but not overconfident, down to earth. Like what he said after Game 2 in the press conference, I'm having the time of my life. I'm having fun. I'm in the moment. But just that calm demeanor that I think the team really, it's almost like a comfort when your goalie is that calm out there, and he has that sort of demeanor about him. I mean, it seems to me, I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it is 2-0, and the other goaltender on the other side between the pipes is the one that was pulled in Game 2. It seems to me that he's the perfect guy for the job here.
Yeah, it really does, and I agree with you, the calm demeanor. I mean, I was thinking about it for Game 1, you know, again, with the ovation that he got. Like, that just stuck out to me where I was like, how the heck does this guy keep it together in that moment? You know, I mean, obviously, I know he's a pro. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to slide him at all, but, like, how does that not get to you just being like, wow, I can't believe I'm here, to not kind of have one of those pinch-me moments where it maybe takes you out a bit? And, yeah, you know, you can make the argument that in Game 1 it took him a bit to get settled in, but, I mean, man, when he settled in, he was dialed in. And same thing in Game 2, you know, it's just insane because this guy, with that demeanor, the way that he goes out there and plays, looks like a dude that's a seasoned vet that's been there and done that and is unfazed by all of this, you know. I'd be real curious to see, you know, if the Knights do pull this off and they win, like what kind of just emotion we get out of him at that point. Like, I wonder if it all just pours out and he realizes, like, holy crap, look what I just did. You know, because it's insane, you know, and that's why I love sports so much is, you know, there's these stories like this all the time that kind of pop up, you know, every other couple of years here, you know, and it's just so cool to see. And, you know, that save, that paddle save is going to be burned in everyone's mind, you know, for the rest of their lives. You know, one of those things where you kind of remember where you were, what had happened and all that stuff. So it's been a lot of fun to watch that. And his demeanor is incredible. You know, and again, that kind of permeates. When you have a leader like that between the pipes, that does permeate through the group, and that calmness kind of, you know, slides through everyone. And that's what you need this time of year, to be able to ride that wave. You see that Florida's not able to do it. They're very undisciplined. And the Knights, you know, are responding and firing back with physicality, but doing it within the whistles.
Sports is absolutely the best reality television, and you see it in all sports this postseason, the stories that are coming out of it. It's absolutely amazing. Jesse, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves right now because it's 2-0, even though we do play very well away from home, and I don't want to jinx us. But did I miss something? I have a little bit of egg on my face. Even though this team won the West, I didn't feel like they were Stanley Cup contention all season long, including the start of the postseason. But what we've done well this postseason is The Panthers sort of came in with a lot of physicality, and we've sort of matched that, and we've played better in every facet of the game than them so far. Am I wrong in saying I didn't feel like we were Stanley Cup contenders at the start of the postseason? Where were you on that?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think we all thought that they were playoff contenders, but not necessarily Stanley Cup contenders. Legit contenders at least at that point. If we're all being honest with ourselves, this was a team they had depth, but we've seen it every year with the Knights. Really, no matter who the coach was, that the scoring would dry up. And what made you think with this group that it wasn't going to do that again? They had Jack Eichel, but we had never seen him in the playoffs before, so you wonder how he's going to react. He's been unbelievable. Jonathan Marchessault goes without a goal through, I believe, the whole first series against Winnipeg, and then just explodes. William Karlsson as your third liner, it's unbelievable what he's been able to do. As you noted, there's so many different storylines, and so that's where I think the depth is really being thrust to the forefront, and we're all kind of realizing, okay, this group is a lot deeper than I think a lot of us really gave them credit for, and realized just how good that depth could be. And also, too, give them credit for being able to play against multiple different styles of teams, and go toe-to-toe with them and beat them. So many people picked against them going against the Oilers. I was one of them. I thought they were going to lose that series in 6. And they managed to prove us wrong, so they can shut down that star power. Another one is talking about shutting people down. I mean, think about the third pairing with Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud getting all those minutes against the Kachuk line. I mean, what? That's the part where I think it's all that's we don't realize the depth this team has, and the fact that when they say we're going to roll 4 lines and throw everyone out there, they really mean it. They believe that, and they've got good reasons to, because they've shown that they can handle that.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're just joining us, he is Jesse Merrick, Channel 3 Sports. I know Brian Salmon is out there in Florida, maybe on the beach right now. I don't know. No, he's probably working, I'm sure. But Jesse is joining us right now on the line. Jesse, there are so many different storylines. Let's talk about coaches for a moment. Obviously, Cassidy, I love the hire right away. I loved the hire. What he did in Boston, phenomenal job in Boston. He was never quite able to get over the hump and win a Stanley Cup. That's very difficult to do. Cassidy is turned out, I'd give him an A+, but I think somebody that is not spoken about enough is Sean Burke, the goalie coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Because when you look at I'm not going to say controversy, but the turmoil that they've had with injuries and the goaltenders that have been between the pipes that have done a phenomenal. Brisebois was unbelievable. He was phenomenal. Would he have been this good to this point? I don't know, but he was phenomenal going in here. And let's remember that our starting goaltender this year hadn't seen much NHL hockey. He got hurt. He was a AHL goaltender, and then he's an all-star. And now we have Aiden Hill. You can make the argument for him in being so far the MVP. Yes, Jonathan Marchessault has been on fire, right? Stone's been great. There's a lot of other, arguments you can make for other players, but Aiden Hill is arguably the MVP right now. I just think Sean Burke and Cassidy, the way they've handled this team, particularly the goaltender situation, has been nothing short of A+.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. Look, you have to give credit to the players, but also at the same time, coaching has to definitely be a part of this because of how many different people have come in. And I know with Yuri Patera coming in, it was such a small sample size, but that kid also came in and played well, and they managed to win, So that's the thing where you just look at it, and it's no matter who they've slotted in there, they've been able to figure it out. And that, to me, does scream coaching, and system, too, with Bruce Cassidy and not asking too much of his goalies. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of times when Aiden Hill or whoever it is has had to be back there and make some insane saves, and we've seen that. But, coaching-wise, it just seems like it's the perfect storm for this group. Also, too, just the demeanor of Bruce Cassidy, even when he's mad, he seems very, level-headed throughout the whole process of it. He's not some guy that, maybe he's going to rip your head off and all this stuff. He just kind of seems like the guy that's going to go in there and, trust his guys and be look, hey, this is what we have to do. No BS, no none of this. Let's just get this done. And, I think you kind of also need that, out of your team. The thing that he said the other day was, you're going to have to take a couple punches to the face to get this thing, to win this thing, and he thinks that his team knows that. And I think this is a guy in Bruce Cassidy that, he understands there's going to be plenty of times where you're taking your lumps as a coach, but, you're going to come out on the end all right, and that seems to be really going throughout the lineup as well, So I can't give the guy enough credit for it. I figured he was going to be a good coach. Again, figured that they were going to be a playoff team, but definitely didn't expect it to be like this. But, man, I mean, he just seems to have fit perfectly in this. And, again, got to give a ton of credit to Burke as well because, just getting these guys, in the right headspace and doing whatever it is that he would be doing with these guys to make sure that they're set up and, ready for success. And it's clearly worked in every facet.
Jesse, it seems in professional sports these days, owners are becoming increasingly impatient. It seems like a win-now league, and coaches are getting hurt by that if they have success but they don't win. If you look at Cassidy in Boston, even the NBA, Budenholzer, the Bucks this year, Monty Williams, they all lost their jobs after winning multiple games. Is that a problem, and do you think that benefited us and hurt Boston, getting rid of Cassidy for that reason?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's kind of the NHL as a whole, really. It just seems like you hear it all the time that, they needed a new voice in the room. And I think there is some credence to that, I mean, because at the end of the day, really how different are all these systems that different teams run and things like that in hockey? A lot of coaches will say, at the end of the day, it's all still hockey. It's just, minor tweaks here and there. And so I do think hearing a different message from a different coach does make a difference. And, and so I would say, it's huge for the Knights and teams like that can buy off or that can get a coach that comes in like that, a really quality coach, and have the success they're having right away. But it is crazy how quickly teams move on from them. But also, too, I get it at the same time. There's obviously hundreds of millions of dollars invested in these things, and if you're not winning, then cool. It's really cool if you're a playoff team and you get there every year, but you come up short. Okay, at least your season kind of means something until you get to really the nitty gritty of it in the playoffs. But at the same time, if you're not winning and getting to the ultimate goal of winning a championship, what are we doing here? So you got to switch it up to maybe see if you can catch lightning in a bottle and get over the hump. And so that's where I think teams are doing that a lot more and not willing to be patient and settle for, hey, we're good, but we want to be great, so let's figure this out. So I'm kind of, and I'm gathering you're kind of on the same line of this one, you're on the fence of okay, it's good at times, but also you'd like to see a little more continuity, but also kind of understand why it's like that too, just given, what's at stake.
So, Jesse, a couple defining moments in this series thus far, and again, we're only 2 games into it. I think of Mark Stone. Catches a puck in midair, unbelievable eye-hand coordination, scores top shelf, arguably the most important goal of his career. Then in Game 2, he loses his stick, still has the wherewithal to finish a check, get to the bench, grab his stick. A second later, puck's on his stick, makes an incredible pass. Haig scores a goal. I just feel like that Stones, has moments in these games that are incredible. And then I think of Jack Eichel. Gets absolutely crushed at the end of the second period by Tkachuk. And what does he do? He goes into the locker room, gets back out there in the third period, and on his first shift, makes an incredible pass to Jonathan Marchessault, who buries another one. I just feel like there are moments in this series where your superstars are making plays and doing what they're paid to do, and just so many interesting defining moments in just 2 games.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, those two players in particular, and specifically those plays, definitely stick out. When Eichel got crushed like that, and he went straight to the locker room, Brian and I were sitting next to each other in the press box, and we both said, we're like, man, I think he comes back in the third period. Even if he doesn't get back out there, just to be on the bench, to be like, yeah, I'm still here, and what that can do to a team. And they talked about that after the fact, too. But then to go in there and get the assist, that's got to mess with Florida. I mean, this guy just got obliterated. And I understand they're all hockey players and they're all tough, but, I mean, that's not even being a prisoner of the moment. That's got to be the top hit all year, right? No
question.
So, for a guy to just come back, yeah, he was obviously in pain, but boom, come right back in there and just get right back to it. That's got to mentally just kind of crush the spirit of the Panthers.
Agree, and I agree. And I asked Eichel after the game, I asked the first question. I said, describe the play, and he owned it. He said, listen, it's on me. Tkachuk didn't do anything wrong. He said it wasn't a dirty play. That's on me. My head's got to be up. Kind of like when your basketball coach in junior high school says you got to dribble with your head up. Same thing in hockey, right? You got to have your head up at all times to protect yourself, for number one. And Eichel made a mistake. He wasn't doing that. And because of that, he paid the price. Thank goodness, though, he doesn't have any major back injuries, and he's fine. And he was fine after the game, and he owned it. And I so respect him for that. All right, so I got to ask you this now, Jesse. Game 3 tomorrow night. I sense that Florida gets one of these 2 games. You don't want them to get both because you don't want to have to come back to Vegas with the series tied. Anything could happen. If you're Vegas, right, you got to go to the mentality. We got to get one of these. What do you think happens in Game 3, and do you expect Florida's best game?
So I think Game 3, and I'm with you. I think that they split these next two out there. I think Game 3, the Knights obviously such a good road team. I'm a believer in momentum. I think it's totally on their side. I know there's a couple days break in between here, and Florida's obviously going to be juiced up, playing in their own building. The emotions are high, all that stuff. Having said that, I think the Knights win this game. We've seen the issues the Knights have had in that first kind of elimination game, not only this year but over the years as a whole. I think they end up dropping Game 4 and coming back, with the shot to close it out at home on Game 5. But we're definitely, I would imagine, Bobrovsky coming out, probably going to be a lot more locked in. I was down there for warm-ups, and a bunch of the other media members around there were telling me, they're like, hey, look, you've got to watch Bobrovsky when he warms up. It's just so mechanical, like, it's crazy, like the detail that he takes in getting ready and everything. Obviously, it didn't work out for him in the last game, but this is a guy that's clearly got a process. They pull him. He's able to kind of maybe start the process of getting over that game a little earlier and, come back in Game 3 and get, honed back in again. And I would imagine we're going to see a response from him. I just think the Knights game does travel so well, and this team is just a different breed when they are on the road. And so I think, there's that blood in the water right now. The Knights are obviously going to be juiced up, want to get that 3-0 lead. So I would imagine they come away with the win. But I bet you it'll be much closer of a game, like we saw the start of the series, in the first period or two there, where it was just so tight back and forth. I bet you that's what we see, but I think the Knights win this one. Like I said, though, I think they end up splitting and coming back home up 3-1.
Wouldn't surprise me. I have to ask you this, as members of the media, as professional members of the media, we're not supposed to be rooting for teams, right? But let's be honest.
Come on.
We all want the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Cup. I have to ask you this. Does it make me a bad person, Jesse, or maybe you're even on my side here, that selfishly you don't want the sweep? You want them to win the Cup in Vegas in Game 5.
Be careful what you wish for with that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know, right? No, yeah, look, I agree 100% on that, and I've had that conversation with a lot of people. I mean, yes, we all do root for this team, unless you have no soul, because, it sucks covering a loser, you know what I mean? Let's be honest, it's more fun to cover a team that wins.
Yeah.
But having said that, yeah, I am rooting for him to be able to come back here and do it, just simply because of, what it would mean, for this city. With the Aces, they won it in Connecticut, in beautiful Uncasville. And there were there were a handful of Aces fans that traveled out there. But, it's not the same when you can do something like that at home. I mean, what that would do for the city. And obviously they got to come back and celebrate here. The Aces did, and it was amazing. But being able to do something like that, and also if the Knights doing it, just given what this team means to this community, I mean, I could only imagine what that moment would be like, and I would hate for the city to be robbed of it because they closed it out on the road. In the grand scheme of things, I'm sure the players are like, look, we don't care. We just want to win this thing. But, as a member of the media out here and as a member of just the Vegas community, I think it would be such a cool moment to be able to share that with the fans and to be able to do it at home. So 100% rooting for them to do it at home because that's just a cool moment. I've been lucky enough to be on the ice in 2012 and 2014 when the Kings won the Cup. And that was just an incredible moment seeing that, so I can only imagine what it would be like here in Vegas again, just given the history with this team and the community.
I was on the ice when the Washington Capitals defeated the Vegas Golden Knights and Alex Ovechkin carrying the cup with that big smile on his face, rightfully so. He deserved it. That was a better team. And I was on the ice, and Vegas Golden Knight fans had to witness that. I think nothing would be better if they ever got a little retribution and be able to watch a guy like a Jonathan Marchessault or a Carlson or any of the misfits to be able to carry that cup. I think it would be very emotional for a lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans who have been with this team since day one, as it would be for me as well. Jesse, I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. You guys at Channel 3 do an awesome job, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again after Game 3, and can't wait for the game tomorrow. Who do you got tonight, by the way, Miami Heat or the Denver Nuggets?
Man, I'll be completely honest, and this isn't much of an educated answer just because I haven't had a chance to really watch any of these games because I've been running around so much. But I would say that Miami gets it done. Obviously Denver and whatnot, they're a solid squad and all. But I'm just leaning the Heat. I can't give you a really great answer as to why, but I'm leaning Heat in this one.
All right, I'm going to go against you on this one. I'm going Denver Nuggets. You're my Chris Wynn today. I'm going against you. Yeah.
Real question, what does Chris Wynn have?
He has Miami. He has Miami, so you're in trouble. You're screwed.
Oh, Denver at home.
I take it back.
Because wrong every time. Love the guy.
Jesse, you're the best, my friend. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll see you Game 5. If there isn't a sweep, we'll see you Game 5, and hopefully they'll be carrying the cup. Jesse Merrick, everybody, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Guy, how was your official first day experience here as my co-host? How did it go for you?
Oh, it was easy.
Not too hard?
You just carried me, and I appreciate that.
I could never carry you. You're a very large man. I could never carry you. I can't
we didn't
carry
have to
myself.
Turn into a physical thing.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
I know
that's why I do radio, by the way. You can't see me on TV.
Well, the next time we will see you, because you have to take tomorrow off. He's already taken days off. God, what do I do with this guy? But
I told him I didn't sleep before asking him this question.
What do
Now
I
he's
do with
rubbing
this
it in.
guy? But you will be, conveniently, you will be at Sapphire on Friday.
Conveniently.
At the Sapphire Pool. We're going to have a lot of fun there, Guy. I appreciate you being here. This is a lot of fun, man. I'm glad you're here. I really am.
Me too. Thank you so much, Brian.
Also, of course, and thank you to our guests, not just JRC Merrick, but of course Charles Wolf.
Oh, they were great today.
Fantastic guests. So, speaking of fantastic guests, Paul McKeskey, Big Mo, the 7-footer, is going to be joining us in the studio tomorrow. Talk all Game 3 NBA Finals. Can't wait for the game tonight. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jose Vellante coming in, filling in for TC Martin coming up next. And we will see you same time, same place tomorrow. And I'll be letting you know whether I'm angry or happy with Game 3 result. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Yes, that's right. Have a great day, everybody.